What up, everybody? Welcome to I Said It Sports. I'm your host, Chris. ESPN just came out with its top 75 players or 74 players of all time. I got a lot of issues with this. Just the way that they were ranking them. I don't have too much to say. I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible. But it's kind of hard when you're talking about NBA versus like a NFL players top 100 list and things like that, because not a lot of people got a lot of arguments when you talk about football. But when you talk about basketball, people really get to see more of the individual talent on display because it's not as many people on the field of play at the same time. So there's only 5 people on the court at a time, and every individual has this chance to actually get the ball and show his talent. That's why I feel like it's a lot of people that have a lot of different arguments or a lot of things to say about basketball. I understand that. I'm one of those people. My issue really isn't with I don't have a lot of issue with the top 10. I don't think they're really taking into the account the individual accolades and the individual talent. I think a lot of times when people do a list of the top 100 players of basketball, they tend to overvalue championships over talent, where you have a lot of talent, but not necessarily that player is not on a great team. So you really can't say if somebody is better than another player just because they won a championship. I say that a lot of times, even when you're talking about the greatest of all time, nobody can really say who's the greatest basketball player of all time because everybody doesn't get to play against everybody. So you have to go off of what you think and what you saw. Some of the players that's on this list, they had James Harden, number 32. Have no problem with that. I got my list sitting here with me. James Harden is number 32. Not sure about that. We're just going to talk about the top, let's say the top 40 players. Okay. So the 40th player on this list is Chris Paul. No problem with that. Walt Frazier, Bob Pettit, Patrick Ewing, Kevin McHale, so on and so forth. The problem that I have is when you start to get to pick 32, that they picked James Harden. Okay. Isiah Thomas, number 31. Okay. So the list from here on out should be a bunch of flat out ballers, because you got to think about it. Isiah Thomas is a 2-time world champion. He went to 3 straight championships. He lost one to the Lakers that he probably shouldn't have lost because they called a foul on Kareem. That really wasn't a foul, but that's neither here nor there. He did beat Michael in his prime. He did beat Bird. He did beat Magic and Kareem. So you can't really say that he's number 31 because he didn't really have another superstar player that he's playing with on his team. Jordan has Scottie, but you really can't say who's the next other superstar that's in the Hall of Fame that Isiah Thomas played with. And he was only like 6'1", 6 foot. You got to give him credit for that. Just the sheer talent that he had and how he brought his team together and to win those championships and to do the things that he did on the court was absolutely remarkable. Is the next players that they got above Isiah Thomas, which is a problem. Steve Nash, he averaged 14 points a game throughout his career. He is not better than Isiah Thomas. I understand he won 2 MVPs. One of those MVPs, well, probably both of those MVPs, should be Shaq's. But that's neither here nor there. We know Isiah Thomas is better than Steve Nash. I mean, come on now. We don't have to argue that. But yet, Steve Nash is ahead of him on this list. Then you have Allen Iverson. Now, pause. Allen Iverson is one of the greatest basketball players who ever lived. We got to just acknowledge that's what it is. At his size and what he did, he averaged 26 points a game at 6 feet tall. 6 assists and a steal. 2 steals, actually. He's one of the best basketball players to ever live. I personally don't have a problem with this, him being ahead of Isiah Thomas. See, but he didn't win a championship. But if you're going off of his talent and the things that he did on the court, come on, man. Come on, man. He's one of the greatest, probably the greatest little man to ever play the state game of basketball. Period of point blank. They have John Stockton ahead of Isiah Thomas. John Stockton is not a better basketball player. He's just not. He always played with Karl Malone, who's a other Hall of Famer. He has more assists. He averaged 13 points per game. I'm going to say that again. He averaged 13 points per game. And they have him number 28. He's not one of the 28 best players that ever lived. You do have to respect him and respect his game and respect his gangster, because he was not a sucker on that court. You feel me? He wasn't a sucker. He went in and was not playing when it comes to the game of basketball. He did his thing. But for him to be number 28, I just don't see him as, I don't see him. I can probably name 35 players that was better than John Stockton. Let's just be real. And then the biggest, most egregious, I think, person that is on this list, he is way too high, way too soon. Giannis Antetokounmpo is ranked 27th. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a better basketball player than Isiah Thomas. He's a better basketball player than Allen Iverson. I don't fucking think so. Y'all must be out your damn mind putting this boy number 27. I understand he's a beast. I understand he coming. I understand he's a MVP candidate. And he's probably going to win another one because him and LeBron is right there. Honestly, for me, not even just being a LeBron fan, when you watch them two play that last game before we had to shut the season down, Corona, LeBron James dominated. Even after the game, I was like, man, he didn't really have to do him like that. But he did, because people was disrespecting him. Like, hey, y'all saying that he better than me because he's about to win this MVP. Let me go out here and show y'all and put on the show real quick. And he did. And then he did it on the defensive end, which for a lot of people was actually shocking. For me, it wasn't, because I know he could still sit in that chair and he could play defense. Now, he can't do it like he once was, because he is 35. I'm 34. I understand what them knees is feeling like when you're waking up. And I ain't playing basketball every day. But for him to do that to him, I mean, come on, man. And then he turned around and did it to Kawhi Leonard. But for him to be 27th on this list, he is not the 27th best basketball player of all time. He's just not. He's an MVP, yeah, but he's just not. It's too early. His career average is 20 points per game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He is a beast. I give him credit. But if him being one of the 30 best basketball players to ever play the game in the NBA, that's just not right. It's just not right. He's not there yet. He's only really had 3 to 4 good years in the NBA. You can't say that he's one of the 28 or 27 best players in the NBA right now. Throughout the history of the NBA? No. Not no 4 years. No. If you're going off sheer talent, he might be. But he only played 4 years, and we don't know if he can. You can't even say he's a Hall of Famer at this point. So basically, this is a list of Hall of Fame basketball players. You can't say that he's a Hall of Famer right now. Like, no brainer. So say if he retired right now, you don't think he's one of the best basketball players to ever play the game. That's what I'm saying. If you disagree with me, fight me about it. You can leave a comment. Then you had D-Wade. That was right under him. Okay, I'll give you D-Wade about 26. Because when you think about it, he's probably the 3rd best shooting guard of all time. And if you're thinking about it, it's really not that many great shooting guards of all time. Just like it's not a lot of great small forwards of all time. Dwayne Wade's one of the best basketball players you've ever seen. We can all agree. I think his career got cut short a little bit, even though he played a little bit longer. But I felt like his prime years got cut short because of his knees, man. He just couldn't hold up. Even like for me, if you even think about it, if you really think about it critically, about the time LeBron got there is when he was really breaking down. Like, look, I cannot carry this load of being the superstar on this team anymore because my knees just giving out on me. And you started to see it around year 4 when LeBron was there, and he really wasn't playing like that. Around year 4, that man's knees was like, hey, another problem. Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is not a better basketball player than Dwayne Wade. Overall. I will flip-flop. As far as like so far right now, has he had a better career than Dwayne Wade? Nah, I can't say that. But Kawhi Leonard is one of the best basketball players I've ever seen. He's a Hall of Famer. I could say that. But I'm not going to say he's better than Dwayne Wade right now. I just can't say that. I can't say that. I think he's right there, though. I'll say I think where he's ranked is probably proper, but 25, yeah. Because then you get your David Robinsons. Well, yeah. You get David Robinson, 24. Then you got Charles Barkley. Scottie Pippen is 21. Can't say I agree with that. I think he's a very versatile basketball player. He's averaged 16 points a game throughout his career. When the year that Jordan did retire, he almost won the MVP of the league. And I think that one moment where we're seeing right now in the documentary where he was like, I ain't going to the game if I ain't shooting the last shot, because he felt that it was disrespectful. And kind of, yeah, I mean, yeah, at that point, yeah, it was kind of disrespectful. But we got to be honest. If Tony Kukoc had already hit 6 game winners throughout the season, and you didn't have a problem with those other 6, you can't have a problem with the 7th one, bro, because he ain't call your number the last couple times. Those times, why not here? Is what Phil's saying, and you gotta understand, you gotta do what's best for the team. Get your ego out of the way. Now, when y'all went out that court, you should have did like how LeBron did it. Like, look, Tony, I love you, bro, but you ain't shooting this shot. I am. That's how he should have handled it. But he didn't. He had a bad moment. I understand that. Kevin Garnett is 20. Kevin Garnett was, man, listen. He's one of the 25 best basketball players ever play. No argument right here. Dirk Nowitzki, 19. I was just having this conversation with my friend, Blair. Dirk Nowitzki and Kevin Garnett are the forwards that change basketball. And people don't give them credit for that. And I'm going to give you credit for that right here. Kevin Garnett and Dirk Nowitzki was the first two. Really, Kevin Garnett was the first power forward that was about 7 feet tall that can handle the ball and shoot that thing from 20, 25 feet. And he can pull up, bring it down, pull up, and he'll shoot right over you. I mean, Kevin Garnett was probably, at that time, probably still is, the most versatile power forward I've ever seen. The only thing that we couldn't say he can do on a consistent player basis was play center, because he wasn't big and strong like that, but his versatility was just unmatched, which I feel paved the way for a lot of the power forwards that you see now. So I'm going to get that to you, Kevin. I might even have you higher on my list, because you was a bad boy. You was a bad boy. You got Moses Malone. People don't think about Moses. 17, Karl Malone. No argument here. 16, Jerry West. I can see that. 15, Julius Erving. When you talk about the doctor, Dr. J, a lot of people don't understand what he meant to his generation. Like, my dad seen Dr. J in person. For my dad's generation, he is the Michael Jordan of his generation. And when you see his highlights, you're just like, what the hell? Like, how is he so athletic, more athletic than everybody else on the court? 14, Kevin Durant. I say this is right. I say this is about right. The only reason why, I think this list is pretty much encompassing everything, like all your accomplishments and team accomplishments. I really don't put that much onus on winning championships. The reason why I don't is because when you're doing a list like this, you can't give somebody more credit than another person because they won a championship. This list is on the best basketball players. That means, and this is more of an individual award or individual list just for that person. I'm there with you with Kevin Durant. It's just that he's a great player. He can do it all. He can pull up, he can shoot, he can pass, he can dribble, and he's 7 feet. I personally don't feel he was that great of a defender. I think he's a great help defender, but as far as locking somebody down, no. He's too tall. He can't be that versatile. Now, what he can do is I can block this shot on a help defender type of tip. But his game on offense, might be the greatest all-around scorer on offense anybody has ever seen, because he's 7 feet and he can do everything that the smaller guys can do. Versatile. Number 13, Steph Curry. I'm cool with that. Steph Curry is a game changer. Steph Curry is awesome. He can shoot the lights out of it. I could pull up from half court and I could shoot the lights out of it. Bad boy. Got to give it to him. About 13 is about right for him. Number 12, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon is easily one of the top basketball players to ever lace up some shoes. He's a bad man. Bad man. I've even heard Shaquille O'Neal say that Hakeem Olajuwon was a better basketball player than he was, which is like the ultimate compliment, because a lot of people just feel like Shaquille O'Neal's the most dominant force to ever play in the basketball court, period. Which is not true. I'll get to that later. He's a bad boy, though. He's a bad boy. But Hakeem the Dream, I'm with that. Number 11, Oscar Robertson is too low. He should be higher on this list. For me, I have him definitely in the top 10. I even got him in my top 5. Oscar Robertson was the first basketball player to average a triple-double. I'm going to say it again. The first basketball player to average a triple-double. The first basketball player to average a triple-double. And if you look up his stats, man, like he nearly, I think he averaged a triple-double with the first 4 or 5, or he had a 5-year stretch where he was averaging a triple-double, like, or almost close to a triple-double. It was like 1 or 2 assists away or 1 or 2 rebounds away from averaging a triple-double for 5 years. And during that time, he was scoring 30 points a game. I'm going to let that sink in for y'all. During this stretch, he was averaging about 30 to 29 points per game. Look him up. He is Oscar fucking Robinson. Listen, I know he's just out the top 10 on this list. He is easily one of the top 5 basketball players of all time. I remember a First Take episode where they were asking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar about the greatest basketball players of all time, and that does he feel slighted about being left out of the conversation? And he said, nah. I mean, he's like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, I understand that people don't really dig the big man like that, and they want to take us out of the conversation. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. But what y'all forgetting about, and who y'all forgetting about, is Oscar Robertson. He said, and then I don't remember who said something back here, like, man, look, no. Oscar Robinson was awesome. That means I got to see him, I witnessed him do things on the basketball court that I still don't see. And what he's trying to tell people is, hey, he's easily one of the top basketball players to ever play. And y'all not talking about this man. He averaged a triple-double during the season. Yeah, he almost averaged a triple-double for 5 seasons in a row. Number 10, you got Shaquille O'Neal. Ain't got no argument with that. That's probably about around where I have him. I honestly, personally, I understand his dominant years is when he was bigger. But when he was with the Orlando Magic and he was coming up the court with the ball and he was athletic. For me, the most athletic big man I've ever seen with my 2 eyes. I'm going to say it again. Easily the most athletic big man that was 7 foot and over 300 pounds. We don't know how much that man weighed. For him to be doing the stuff that he was doing was absolutely ridiculous, and he shouldn't have been able to do it. But he was doing it. Number 9, Kobe Bean Bryant. Kobe Bean Bryant. I'll say this about Kobe. When he was playing, I never liked him, because my brother's a huge Kobe fan. And I just didn't like him because he played with the Lakers. I'm just be honest. I can say it now. I just didn't like him because he played for the Lakers. But when you're looking back at his career, Kobe Bryant was a better offensive player than Michael Jordan overall. He's probably the greatest shooting guard offensively ever. The reason why I say it, understanding that he copied a lot of the things that Jordan did, which I don't blame him for, and I don't hold it against him. Why not copy greatness? Like he said, why not copy greatness? Why wouldn't I do that? That would be dumb not for me not to do that, especially if I have that ability and I'm built pretty much the same. Why not do it? I understand that. But Kobe Bryant was Michael Jordan with like jump shot from 3. And they say the mama mentality. The mama mentality is I can do this. I don't care if you feel like I can. I'm going to shoot through it. If he's having a bad game, he'll just shoot through it. I heard Chris Carter say that, and I was like, you know what? He's damn right. And that's what people get mad at LeBron for, because he doesn't have that mentality. Yeah, Kobe Bryant is probably the greatest shooting guard offensively to ever live, because he can shoot the 3 better than Jordan did. Now, obviously, people say, well, Jordan would have learned how to shoot the 3 better if he had got a chance to, if they emphasized the 3 ball. Listen, we got to be honest when we talking about Michael Jordan, okay? I understand you guys are fans, but we have to be honest and we have to be objective. Michael Jordan was not a great 3-point shooter. He wasn't. It is what it is. If Kobe Bryant is a better 3-point shooter than Jordan, it's not because they didn't emphasize the 3 ball when Jordan was playing, because you still had a lot of 3-point. He played with 3-point specialists. Played with Steve Kerr, 3-point specialist. He played with Craig Hodges, 3-point specialist. Larry Bird, he wasn't a 3-point specialist, but he can shoot the lights out that thing. They always emphasize being able to shoot the ball from 3. If you can shoot the ball from 3 34% or better, shoot that motherfucker. I'm just saying, we got to give Kobe his credit. I honestly do. Number 8, Tim Duncan. I feel like Tim Duncan, and having a conversation with somebody that I had on the podcast, my man Blair, we had a conversation about Tim Duncan. I was like, why don't people give Tim Duncan the credit? And he was like, well, because he didn't really do it consistently. I'm like, well, what you mean? He has all these championships. I think Tim Duncan has 5 championships. I'm like, he has 5 championships. He got 5 rings. He was always winning. He went to the playoffs every year of his career. Think about that, people. Every year of Tim Duncan's career, he was always in the playoffs. Granted, he had a great coach, probably one of the greatest coaches of all time. Probably the greatest coach of all time. The reason why we don't have him higher on our list is 2 things. 1, Tim Duncan is not a flashy player. That's why Shaq called him the big fundamental. And 2, he didn't win 3 in a row. If he had, people would think about him differently. Like, man, he really dominated his era. Tim Duncan was a bad boy, man. Number 7, Larry Bird. Larry Legend. Larry Bird was a bad man. I get bad man from my father. He always said he was a man. He was a bad boy, man. He was a bad boy. But Larry Bird was, he was Larry Bird. And number 7, I ain't got no problems. All I'm saying is he Larry Legend. He's one of the top 10 greatest basketball players to ever lace up some sneakers. Be honest with you, that's really all you got to say. Number 6, Wilt the Stick. Wilt Chamberlain is the number 6 greatest basketball player of all time. Oh, y'all tripping. Wilt Chamberlain is the most dominant basketball player to ever play the game. Here's why. Not because he just scored 100 points in one game. Not because he could score. Not because he was just the biggest, strongest person on the court. Nobody can match him. But because he was just the best overall athlete to ever play the game at center. He's the most athletic center to ever play the game. He's also a high jump champion. That means he played more than one thing, people. And for kids out there, I feel like you definitely should play more than one sport. You gotta play more than one sport. Don't just focus on one. Play multiple sports. You get good at more than one, and you learn lessons from one sport to put into your main sport that you like. But Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game in one season. If you go and look at this man's stats, one year he led the NBA at center in assists. I ain't saying that because I need to let that sink in. Wilt Chamberlain at center led the league in assists. That's like Shaq in his prime leading the league in assists. Do y'all understand? Y'all understand how great this man was? And granted, so this is the problem that I have when people talk about, well, there was nobody playing. He was playing against a bunch of white dudes. Okay. And it was all smaller than him. Okay. So was Shaq. Shaq was playing against a bunch of dudes that was much smaller than him. Nobody was as big as Shaq when Shaq was dominating. So, y'all don't hold that against him. Y'all just say he was the most dominant player to ever play basketball, which he was not. Wilt Chamberlain is the most dominant basketball player to ever lace up sneakers. And it's not close. Don't even try to say that it's Shaq, because it wasn't. And it's not. It's Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain definitely, if we're just talking about sheer dominance, flat out dominance, Wilt Chamberlain has his own record book, people. Meaning he has records that no one is ever going to break. Ever, ever, ever. Not Jordan, not LeBron, not KD, not James Harden, not nobody. He averaged 50 points in a game for a season. He averaged 40 points in a season. 37 points in a season. Are y'all understand? Like, he has his own, man, listen. In my book, if I'm being honest, he has a very legitimate case at being the greatest basketball player to ever live. If we're going off of, you have to just go off of what they did on the court. And a lot of times people are not paying attention to what they did on the court. I understand that people want to throw championships in there, but that is a team accomplishment. That's not an individual accomplishment. Individual accomplishments are MVPs. Individual accomplishments are scoring titles. Individual accomplishments are who you matched up against and what you did against them. So people talk about how Bill Russell won all these championships and he beat Wilt to steal. It works both ways. Bill Russell gets credit for beating Wilt Chamberlain in those championships. He gets credit. But you also have to think, everybody that plays with Bill Russell is in the Hall of Fame. I think the whole starting five is in the Hall of Fame. And if we're being honest and we're being real, Bill Russell is not a better basketball player than Wilt Chamberlain. He's just not. As an individual basketball player, I didn't get to see him, though. That's why I can't really honestly, definitively say that he's the greatest of all time, because I didn't get to see him. But when you're looking at this man's numbers and you talk to people that actually played against him, they're like, hey man, he's the greatest player to ever play. I don't care what these dudes out here doing. He was unstoppable. There was nothing that we can do. Okay? There was nothing we can do. Number 5, Earvin Magic Johnson. This is my thing. One of the greatest basketball players to ever play. Is probably the best point guard to ever play the game. But, and there's a but, he's not in my top 5. I'm sorry. He's just not. He right on the outside. But he's one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. He was very versatile. He's not a great defender. But on offense, and as a person that can run your offense, and the fact that I feel like a lot of people really, really love Magic Johnson for what he represents, and I'm one of those people. But if we're just going off of Magic Johnson, the basketball player, and the year that he won his first championship, he played center and he won the championship, and I feel like people will never ever forget that. I wasn't alive for that, but Overall, he's one of the greatest overall basketball players. I personally feel that the fact that he played with two other Hall of Famers really hurt. I felt his points per game average, which he only averaged 19 points a game for his career, 11 assists, 1 steal, almost 2 steals, 1.9. Magic Johnson is one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. I just feel he's not in my top 5. Me personally. Number 4, Bill Russell. Bill Russell is another person that can make a claim that he's the greatest basketball player of all time. He has 11 championships, 2 of them as a player coach. That's all I really need to say. Bill Russell. I didn't get to see him play, and the players that he played with they're all in Hall of Fame. I understand that. But he was so great, and his team was so great. And people don't talk about this. They didn't have any championships before he got there. Let that sink in for people. They didn't have any championships before he got there. None. 0. When he left, they had 11. He number 4. I understand. I got to talk about these people. We need to learn and know who these people are, and we need to learn more about your Bill Russells and things like that, so we can actually have a conversation about who's the greatest of all time, which I personally feel you can't do. Number 3, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has 6 titles, 6 MVPs, 6 titles, 6 MVPs. He has just as many titles as Michael Jordan, and he has more MVPs. If you didn't know, that's more MVPs than anyone has ever had. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I think he lost 2 basketball games in college. I don't know how many he lost in high school. He probably lost 1. I don't know. He's easily had the greatest basketball career of all time. High school, college, pro. What I'm trying to get to is when people are just assigning the greatest of all time to Michael Jordan, and I love Michael Jordan. Y'all don't understand. I love Michael Jordan. I love me some Michael Jordan. We have to be careful when we're doing that, because there are players who had better careers than he did, and he's one of them. Wilt Chamberlain is one of them. Bill Russell is another one. LeBron James is another one. I can tell you the next 2 players on the list. Number 2 is LeBron James, and number 1 is Michael Jordan. Okay, I don't really have too much of a big of a problem with the top 10 in this list. The problems that I have is putting Giannis Antetokounmpo in this list of great all-time basketball players to ever play the game. Once you crack the top 30, he's not one of those players. I'm sorry, he's just not. He's not. He hasn't played long enough. Now, he played like this for the next 2 to 3 years, which I believe he will. Almost definitely. It's not even a question. He's only really had 3 really amazing seasons. But number 2, LeBron James. Number 1, Michael Jordan. Me personally, in my book, I have LeBron James number 1. Here's why. I don't know enough about Wilt Chamberlain, and I don't know enough about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because I didn't get to see them. And a lot of people don't, and I had this argument with my man Blair. What's up, Blair? The other day. He said people don't call Wilt Chamberlain the greatest of all time because they didn't see him. And there's really not enough footage to see. Like even the 100-point game, there's no footage of him scoring 100 points, but we just know in the record books that he did it. And we can't hold things against him that he can't control. He can't control that the NBA was not merged with the ABA and they had more teams. He can't control that. He can't control that he's the biggest, strongest, fastest center that anybody had ever seen to that point. That's not his problem. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not his problem. He can't control that. So we can't hold things against him that didn't exist when he was playing. That's like saying like, oh, he wasn't a great 3-point shooter. It didn't exist when he was playing. Y'all have to understand. Like, we have to judge it by the generation. Okay? For this generation, who is the next best basketball player in this generation? And we have to set it by the generation. You cannot pick a greatest of all time because you will never know. You've even heard Michael Jordan say, I can never say that I'm the greatest basketball player of all time. They say, why you say that, Mike? Because I can't play against Bill Russell, and I can't play against Wilt Chamberlain, and I can't play against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he was in his prime. I can't play against Oscar Robinson when he was in his prime and he was averaging triple-double and he was putting everybody up, or he was posting them up. I can't say that I'm the greatest of all time because I don't know. And then you ask Oscar Robinson, you're like, look, man, it's cool that they don't want to acknowledge my accomplishments. It's cool. You know, people have to understand, Oscar Robinson is the reason why NBA players have free agency. That's why I really appreciate the players that understand the history of the game. Like, we can't sit up here and say that anybody is the greatest of all time. In my eyes, I say LeBron because in this generation, it ain't close. On the offensive and defensive end, LeBron is the most versatile defender. He's not the best offensive player, but he's one of the best offensive players. And nobody else is better than him defensively and offensively. So nobody you can put saying that, oh, he's better than LeBron offensively and he's better than him defensively, because there's nobody even close. And the teams that LeBron had to play with and drag to the finals is just, I mean, we've never seen anybody do anything like that. That's why I say he's the greatest of all time. For me, because I got to see his entire career. He could pass, he could dribble, he could shoot, he could play defense, he can do it all. I feel that he is the best overall basketball player to ever play. He could do everything. Just on the research that I've done and that I know, number one, I would have LeBron James. That's just me. Number two, I would have Michael Jordan, probably. If we're just going off of just basketball, I'm going to have LeBron James and Michael Jordan. And the reason why, because those are the only two that I've seen with my two eyeballs. Then I'm going to have to go with guys I've never seen, which is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then I will have to say Wilt Chamberlain. And then I will have Oscar Robinson. His versatility, the fact that he was a triple-double machine. When you asking anybody from that played in that era or seen him play, even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like, hey man, y'all talking about me. Forget me. Oscar was awesome. He was awesome. Something I got to say about that, guys. I appreciate you guys for joining me, messing with your boy. We could argue. You know what I'm saying? You don't like what I got to say, we could fight about it. I personally think that Russell Westbrook should have been in this top 40. But the disrespect continues. It's cool. My next videos are going to be out pretty soon. I'm going to drop a couple of videos this week. I'm going to finish up that NFL draft. Definitely got to do the NFC and AFC South. And then I'm going to go for them. Like my video, subscribe to my channel. I'll see y'all next time. I'm out.